Money. I'm your host, Karl Abrahams, and today we're going to talk about what I think about money. Okay, and if you agree, if you disagree, leave a comment below. We can discuss it, or yeah, we can debate it, and we take it from there. Okay, so today we're going to talk about. I would love to continue in regards to a market crash and recessions and etc., and the relevancy for us and how to maybe how we can put stuff in place to ease the pain, right? And yeah, going forward, right? So uh, I'm talking about South Africa, right? And I'm not talking about worldwide events, right? So locally, right? So SA, I would say, uh, um, well, the markets was questionable, the economy was questionable before COVID hit us, right? I would say 2019 it was really a story, and even before then, right? Ripple effects of it, yeah. So I would say, and the attempt I, w- I would like to use a softer word in manipulating the market, but yeah, so that everything looks stable and so that prices can drop. But the ripple effect of that, it comes to a point where like a recession becomes inevitable, and then like also the status of the economy becomes also questionable, right? So um, in simple terms, in layman terms, simple terms, right, to make it very easy to understand, is how do I identify that maybe a market crash, or I would say if you look closely at prices increasing, right, that is normally a good indicator, right? Petrol price going up, and then the ripple effect of petrol price going up is that everything else is going up. The prices has been increasing steadily, and so when it comes down, it's like it's a relief, but the reality of the matter doesn't really go down. It just moves slightly lower, but it's not where it was previously, right? So prices climbing consistently, right? And here they're coming down, but the reality of the fact is, and we can, there's a lot of people that can argue this matter and say, yeah, but prices is coming down, or whatever they think about it. But my opinion is that yes, prices is steadily increasing, and it's coming down slightly here and there, but not really. It doesn't really have an effect, and then it's climbing up again. And if we honest about it, we can agree to this and say yes, it is what it is, and prices are increasing steadily. All right. So prices increasing steadily, that's a fact, right? And that is one of the indicators, market crash, right? Um, I would also say like the amount of job losses, right? If we must be realistic about the matter, the unemployment rate is huge on its own, right? The people that's not even within the system, it's huge on its own. Then we're talking about people that's now benefiting from the 350s, and people that's drawing unemployment. Then there's people that's getting nothing, right? So also, how do you calculate, or how do you get to the point where you calculate and say this is the unemployment figure, all right? Because the reality of the matter is that everyone is not included in that calculation, right? So yes, we would say X, Y, it's maybe the figure for unemployment, but the reality of the matter, if the bigger scope, is that it's even greater than that, right? And so if we look at unemployment as a factor, right? So people that can afford, right? Then I wouldn't even say people that can afford, people that get an income, to put it that way, okay? So now we look at the factor, and we say, okay, prices going up, price hike, prices going up, all right? And so now, but your salary is staying the same. So now the shortfall becomes greater, all right? What does that mean? It means that the debt that you currently have, you're struggling to keep up with the debt, right? You're also falling behind with payments. What's happening now during COVID? The repo rate is like it's increasing, right? So repoing your house, your car, whatever the case may be, right? Collections has increased, right? So and then now the next question is like collections in itself, based on the amount of unemployment, based on the prices increasing, based on affordability, based on clientele not being able to make payments on their debt, right? So now the satisfying part on the does the debt really get satisfied in the fact that, in the light that actual payments being made, right? So now you have debt that's accumulating, that's skyrocketing, right? And so now you have people that can't afford to pay the debt, right? But it's steadily increasing. So what is banks to do, all right? So the only way is to manipulate the whole scenario and flood it with money that has really little to no value, right? In order to stabilize stuff so that you can bring prices down again. But yeah, that's a talk for another day. I'm not going to go into depth with that one, right? But the reality of the fact is that prices are increasing, salaries are staying the same, right? So debt are not being serviced as it should be serviced, right? Debt is also now increasing, right? Based on affordability and based on scarcity, right? And so now debt is increasing, and then as time goes on, debt cannot be serviced, right? So now we're looking at a huge amount of debt that's not serviced, and so collections is growing to a huge extent, right? So those are normally indicators that that a market crash is like really nearby, if it's not already here, the ripple effects of it, all right? And so if you look at stock markets in itself, I from my research, based on my research, it's not reflecting the reality. Right? Stock markets are not reflecting the reality of what's really going on in the markets, within the markets, right? So those are also indicators that you can look at. Businesses, right? A lot of businesses are closing doors based on COVID, right? Even before COVID, the businesses were closing doors, but that has escalated to an extent already, right? So businesses closing their doors, right? What does that mean? The ripple effect of that means that unemployment has increased, right? So all of that hitting the economy at the same time, it's huge, right? And so now also, like I said previously, repo rates, it's increasing dramatically, right? And so if you look at US GDP, it's also worsening. The thing about USA, Japan, Germany being the force of nature when it comes to the economies, right? USA being strong is that USA is so strong that even if they're doing badly, they're still doing good, based on what's happening across the world, right? So the reality of the fact, that's why I say the market crash is very close by, because, or if it's not already here, so if it's already not started, right, the identifiers, right, and yeah, so USA, right, is a very, very strong economy. So if they do bad, they will still look good based on how bad everyone else is doing, right? And so that is also not really a true indicator as to how the strongest economy is really performing, right? And close by, following close by China, Germany, right? And so how their economies are performing and what affects their economies. And so the powerhouse economies, the ripple effect of those to the rest of the world, to the rest of Africa, to South Africa, right? And so in a relation to that as well, economy in regards to import, export, and being red listed, and etc., and also tourist attraction, and based on COVID, and how the tourist industry really performs currently, has a huge impact on the economy as well, because that's an industry on its own that's in distress to a degree. Right, and so how to remedy that, it's going to take time, right? And so we look at the liquor industry, which had a huge couple of blows, right? And we look at the ripple effect of those industries, and you look at packaging, you look at branding, and everyone else that's involved in the liquor industry, in the tobacco industry. And even if you look at like the vehicle industry, right? And if you look closely, who's buying vehicles now, right? Homes, like the manipulation of the industry doing well is who's buying the actual houses. Is it investors, right? Or is it normal people buying houses, right? So are those industries really performing, right? So even your airlines, right? How is your airline industry performing, right? Based on the fact that being red listed, etc., etc. So even those industries, all those industries are currently struggling, and the ripple effects of the industry that's in the industries that's interlinked with those industries, right? And so you can really see the bigger picture, right? And so, but the crucial question is how does it affect us as normal people within South Africa, right? It affects us to the extent is that the poor will become poor, and the poorer, and the rich will become richer, based on the fact that the poor person or the middle incomer only has enough money for month-to-month survival, right? And so you don't have the luxury of surviving without an income for a whole year, right? And still live your normal life as if nothing happened. You don't have that luxury. Middle income to poorer. If you lose your job tomorrow, the end of this month, you will have money, and then after that, struggle. And if you don't get any funds in to start a small business, or whatever the case may be, you kind of screwed there, right? So I would say, right, how do we combat the whole potential crash scenario? How do we combat that? It's okay. I won't say it's simple, but what I would suggest is that the more people create a secondary income, right? If that scenario increases, right, people creating secondary incomes, right, the extent of that will kind of soften the blow, right? And the reason why I say that is because if you have price increases, right, on this side, and then you have your salary, which is not going up because you have a fixed salary unless you're in the sales game, right? So you have a fixed salary, right? So the surplus, the shortfall of that, right, is currently in a minus because of the price increase, or is currently equilibrium, so you're currently just surviving, or it's currently above, but also not really above. It's like a very small percentage above. So you are moving to the point of where you're going to struggle or where you're going to break even. So that being said, the only way to mitigate that would be to increase the income. And the only way to increase the income is to have a side hustle, a side business, to increase the income so that you can satisfy the need of paying your debt, and so that you have enough funds available to look after your family and to save and invest. So once you start saving and investing, that is where your profit margin starts to grow. And that is why I say, for me, the only way for us as South Africans, the only way for us to mitigate, or for us to cancel out, or not even to cancel out, to survive a market crash to the extent, is to create a secondary income where you actually have slight profit margins or huge profit margins that you can actually use those funds to invest in something like a Kruger Rand, right? And I would say Kruger because Kruger has less red tape to buy, and it has even less red tape to sell, right? So for you to do a turnaround on cash flow in regards to taking a fixed asset and selling it and to become liquid, right? It's less of a hassle than to buy an actual property like a house, right, or a car, or whatever the case may be. And even cars, like depreciation on cars. For me, it's kind of pointless to buy something that depreciates over time, because there's no real profit margins involved there. But to buy something that really accrues over time, which means it grows in value, which means profit margins will grow as time goes on. So to invest in something like that, it's really awesome. I would say, if you don't understand Forex, once again, don't move into that direction. Rather go into something like a Kruger Rand or some interest-bearing account, or speak to your financial advisor and hear what they have to say in regards to the safest way to invest. And also in regards to that, I would say educate yourself in regards to investing and where to invest and how to invest, the markets, etc., right? Because if you don't do that, right, then you will have to rely on someone's knowledge and someone's experience and the relevancy thereof, and also are they making the correct decision for you, because they sorting out themselves. You a client that's paying them. So loyalty there, brother, financial advisor comes first, and then their clients come afterwards. And it's not the same for everyone, but that's the overall feeling, right? So yeah. So guys, very, 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 very important is that we need to understand where the economy is heading to, right? We need to understand what is the ripple effects of it. We need to understand that the poor will get poorer and the rich will get richer unless we service the surplus, the shortfall, and we change the dynamic of it and start creating profit margins. Start equilibrium. Get yourself to financially to equilibrium point, and then move over to a profit margin and then grow that consistently, right? How to identify that you are moving into a financial crisis as a person, as an individual? Well, for a person, an individual, to identify that you're moving into a financial crisis, it's quite easy. Is that when you come to a point where your salary does not keep the full 30 days of the month and you're running short in regards to cash flow. That is normally a clear indicator that you have problems, you have financial problems, right? If you have a lifestyle for 15 days, right, and you can't maintain that lifestyle for the next 15 days, which means you are used to this. Once you get your salary, you kind of buy what you want to buy, you do what you want to do. But once it hits like the 15th, if you get paid the end of the month, once it hits the 15th of the month, you're kind of like, okay, now I need to really tighten up the screws and look where I'm spending to survive. That is also normally an indicator that Popo is going to hit the fan very, 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 very soon, right? In regards to crisis financially, personally, right? So I would also say that if you look at your income, and that is why it's very, very important to do budgets, right? And also to do your financials. Know your personal figures, right? What happened last year this time, right? How was your figures last year this time in regards to spending, right? And in regards to income, right? Your debt, your creditors, right? How much debt do you have currently? Has it increased? And have you been servicing your debt religiously every month? Have you skipped payments? And is the interest bearing in regards to the payments that was skipped previously, right? So those are all indicators that you need to look at, right? How much, if you skip your payments to creditors like 3 consecutive months, you kind of know something's going on, right? You kind of know, I'm moving into a direction where I don't want to be in, right? So those are all indicators for you as a person, as an individual, as a family to look at and see, look here, based on what happened last month to date, right? It's not looking good for next month, right? Or last year to date, right? So last year, I kind of just made it. This month, I barely made it. So if you look at like what's going to happen next month, if you take all the information, and it's Your personal life is like a business, right? And I think you should now everyone should be on a level where we treat our personal life as a business in regards to figures and in regards to planning and in regards to buying what we need and not to impress other people and not buying extra that we really don't need, right? So in regards to, like, as an example, now you buy 5 pair of Nikes, right? Where a normal decent shoe, maybe 2 would be suffice for you for the year, right? As an example. So we really look at what do our spend trend as to where we spend our money, the trends, right? And we look at our debt and are we really servicing it and the increase thereof. We also look at price hikes. We also look at when did the petrol go up and when did everything else, the ripple effect of that happen, right? And so when is the next petrol hike? How does the economy look, right? So now for you to survive, and that is the key between like being poor, being middle class, being rich. Like the rich knows their figures and they know how to create profit margins from even using debt, because there is a way of using debt, right, to create profit margins, right? So you don't use debt for your personal gain. You do use debt to create profit margins so that you grow your wealth, so that you grow your net worth, right? So I know I've said a lot, and what I've said, for everyone it's not going to be easy to digest, right? For some of us it's going to be a little bit more difficult to digest. But the reality of the matter is, if we don't do the necessary research, if we don't educate ourselves financially, then we are going to struggle going forward. The reality of the matter is, people currently people have financial crises within their households, and the reality of that is that the figure of that is increasing daily, right? Are you part of the numbers, or are you on the flip side of the coin, where you actually are in a position to invest and to save and to invest, right? If that is the case scenario, that you are in a position to save and invest, I would say the best option for you, and I preach Krugerrand because I've done my research and I know it will work for you, right? If you are in a position to do Forex, I would say do that if you understand it, if you have experience in it. I would say that's an awesome platform. Cryptocurrency, I mean, Bitcoin has its ups and downs, I would say, but I would say it's okay to invest in, but really do the research, the relevant research, and then, rather take it in from there. I would say property game would be decent, but in the same instance, like I said previously, is the property industry really performing? Is the repo rate increasing, right? And then also, who's buying? Is it investor or is it normal people qualifying for bonds, right? And then also look at the margins in regards to who's renting and who's not renting, right? And is that increasing? And what is the benefits? What is the profit margins in regards to you as a person buying property and then renting it out, right? The other option is also flipping property in regards to buying a property, fixing it up, right? Improving property and then selling it for a profit margin, right? Increasing the profit margins there, right? So those are all factors that we can look at. We are going to go for a short, very, very short break quickly, and then we're going to come back and we're going to discuss what to do going forward in regards to markets, in regards to finance, and that's what we're going to discuss when we get back.
Yan tui, tika sis, yesterday, crazy, flitser, extremely, yo, here come the flows, my life just begun, my goodness wanna come, lampas it out, what is it all about, Dungus, 2012, here come we gaan, dit is like a plan, success your dreams, Kosa. Certificated, work certified, the mic, the bass. Tweeters, the producers, my dream, the team, fresh and clean. Ako scene, bus, latus at banan. Yo, ano ba danga? Tigret at susday, yes da, homi brasa la para ni guay, matawag sa ato ay sinit, luka ko na ay, diripos mo sa lawira, ay kontrado. Gusto mo sa speed, tigret at susday, yes da, homi MC sa la para ni guay, matawag sa ato ay sinit, luka ko na ay, diripos mo sa lawira, ay kontrado. Anaray maman, layaman rechna, weg. Uit voor het twee geveeg, ik heb balans uit dan vies. Niet om mijn geheim te vies. Kijk hoe lijkt ze nou. This is me. Every MC. Mr. Rafi. Remy E. Cream. Biosum. Vangen. Scheepsus Phoenix. Atsus bliksemstra. When youngster. When come the flows. Pas op. Ik pauzeer. Die powers. Steeds wat ik flauwen. Bastra, Asia man zeker tijd. Hypoflowers, writers en poetries. La Emma nou het hier. Kennis daar, please MC. Flowers is niet, ik red het je stijl. Hier is daar, homie, brassen, de baren en wijn. Maar don't start to lie, ik zit net, look up on my eye. Die rippers moeten loweren, leuk tot draaien. Flowers is niet, ik red het je stijl. Hier is daar, homie, MC's en de baren en wijn. Don't start to lie, ik zit net, look up on my eye. Die rippers moeten loweren.
Ja. Je nu van die zelf. Kop lis. Een lis voor je kop. Ja.
AO5. Nice one, homie.
Ticket. Starig maar versieker, gaan we starig dood van ziekte. Van die manier doen we je liever, wordt de zoemen aangebieden. Dat is flittering absurd, dit is flittering de curve. While die flittering de earth, die collateral diverse. Koos die stritten, zie je stritten, die mensen je te nerve. En het zit dus op je aids, van ons liever op je words. Oorlog voeren bij logical. Ons woorden gevoerd met chemicals, die vier psychological. Denk logical, die obstacles is optical illusion. Ik kom tot bij conclusion, die problem is tropical. Die cause is pollution, gesolve economical in ons is die solution. My maat is klimaatverandering. Voorzorg wordt getrekt hier aardverwarming. Een one world government, vorm nou een covenant. Een one world government, vorm nou een covenant. Maak gereed voor die AIDS of Altron. Zij is Lutheran. Wij zullen van die space en Waltrons. Die drones en die clones en die phones. Is alles prototype, zo oos kan gevangen worden. Is jals, die is digital, die currency is crypto. Oos gaan de crypt, zij is cyborg op een lipto. Yes, ze moet je vinger op je lip hou. Al intentie is klaar official. Intelligentie is aard official. Al reduce zoals culture code. Zij wordt geprogramd in nieuws episodes. Laat miauw mee pial, je vertel van die machine. Wat die cream met die ijzens. Wat voor mij is werk is system met de CV. Reality TV geschiet voor een greenscreen. Die man op je scene, wie zo lang ons niet gezien. Wie is als ze eyeblind, kan jullie niet zien nie. Als ze eyeblind, kan jullie niet zien nie. Believe me. Hoe kan ons geestelijk gezond is als we zwakker en op schuld leef? Ons gaan betalen voor ons zondes. Is klaar waar het zo is, getript in de puzzel en daarom is ons clueless.
Talk Money. I'm your host Karl Abrahams, and we're back to talk what I think about money. Okay, we left off about the market crash. We talked about a little bit about job losses, and we talked about price hacks. We talked about what else is there? We talked about financial crisis, personal at home. Yeah, so we covered a lot. I would like to cover a little bit more about retailer sales dropping. Right, so that is also a fact. Retailer sales in comparison with 2019, 2020, 2021 in comparison. So I think the relative one would be 2021 versus 2019, because we don't really take care, we don't really take into consideration 2020 based on the based on the COVID COVID-19. But if we must be realistic in regards to that, and we look at retailers in response to that, is that online has actually performed very well. All right, it has increased, and I mean December last year, that section is also where I think the markets opened, the country opened, and so everyone was actually happy to hit the malls and to do shopping for Christmas, etc., etc. Right. So that in itself, it's also it also gave a nice boost. But then we're looking at 2021, where the country has been open. People has already prepared well in advance, also just in case the country closes up again. So I think a lot of people also did November. Prepared November for December. I think also based on Black Friday, that also had a ripple effect, and I think that kind of slowed down the sales for December, and we're getting what we're getting, but it's not really what we want in comparison to 2019 and growth in regards to them. And it's not, I'm not saying it's across the board in regards to all niches and industries within retail. I'm just saying, it's a fact that some retailers are not performing as well as what they wanted to, right? And so if we look at GDP, and that is also where countries really base their economical power based on GDP, right? Growth domestic product, right? So the output of it, right? And so that is why America is like super strong in that. Japan is like is really strong in relation to that, and Germany as well. So if we look at that, I would say a country that does well GDP-wise, I mean the living standards proof in the pudding, where that is concerned, and we see it in the stronger first world countries, right? And so if we look at SA GDP, right, it's not that strong. It doesn't come close to your USD, but it's what we have, and that is why I feel in order for us to really do something from a personal perspective, right, I would say really focus, like I said previously, focus on the surplus, focus on the shortfall in regards to your expenses, your income, your expenses, and the profit margin that is left. All right. So if you can grow your profit margin in regards to a personal individual, and when I say profit margin, I mean what is left after you have spent on your expenses and which is your creditors and your living expenses. So what is left? If you can use that to save and invest and to grow that as a profit margin, right? And that will really grow your net worth. And I feel also that to really grow that to the extent is to have a side hustle, to have a side business, which you can actually grow into a full-time business. Because the reality of the fact is, the more full-time businesses open, right, the more opportunity for job creation is, the more opportunity will create for job creation, right? And so the more jobs you create, right, the stronger the economy will become, because the trade within becomes stronger, right? So people, do not be afraid to start a business on the side. Do not be afraid to start a business as a full-timer, right? If you're unemployed, right, there's ways and means to start a business, to get something off the ground and really build based on your experience, based on your skills, based on your knowledge, to start something, right? And really to service your need as a person, firstly, for you and your family, and then also to satisfy your debt, your creditors, right? And then creating stable profit margins that grows stably throughout, right? Maybe at 3%, maybe at 4% per month, and then so that you can really grow financially, right? And for people who's already on that level where you really don't, you're not struggling, right? But there's no better action than to prepare for the worst case scenario, right? So if there's a market crash happening, right, or in the process of happening, right, and you prepare for that crash, right, to the extent where you show decent profit margins and it's picked on decent increase per month, right? Then, I mean, if it doesn't happen, right, then guess what? You're stronger financially, right? If it does happen, you are prepared for it, right? The blow has been softened, right? If you are the fortunate ones that are rich already, I would say to you, get a financial advisor in your game. Clearly you already understand finance because and how it works because you're already on that level. But what I would say is get the experts in so that they can grow what you already have. All right. Don't be ignorant and say, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm doing what I'm doing, and it's been good so far." But you know the unpredictableness of the economy, the unpredictableness of what's happening in the banking industry, the unpredictableness in regards to GDP. That is actually where the danger lies. And so if you have a professional coming in advising you, you know, this is where you need to go, this is what you need to do, buy and sell, etc., then it makes life kind of easier and it really minimizes risk rate, right? So yeah, I've really covered all spheres. I mean, we're talking about poor, we're talking about middle class, we're talking about rich. And so the reality of the fact is that, you know, no one wants to be classified as poor. The reality of the matter is that a lot of us are poor, right? And a lot of us don't want to be classified as middle class because we want to be classified as rich. And the same instance, right, it's how we wired humanly, right? And so you would be obese, and then to an extent, right? And then it would be like, no, but I'm not fat. I'm not obese. You have a belly, kind of means you kind of overweight. All right, and so you tell yourself, I'm not obese, and I'm part of the skinnier, the skinnier group, right? The reality of the matter is you are not super obese, but you are obese to the extent, right? And so the fact is that you should go on a diet, right? I've spoken to a person like a couple of months back, and I told that person, I'm not going to name names, right? So I told that person, so you know you're obese, right? Because you kind of you don't weigh what you should weigh in regards to your length. So it means you're obese, right? You know that. And the person will be like, no, but I'm not obese, and you know, kind of defensive. And no, I'm not obese. How can I say I'm obese? But the reality of the matter is that you are. And so it boils down to the same thing in regards to status, that we feel I'm not poor. I'm okay. I'm middle class. I'm not poor. Or I'm not middle class. I'm rich. I'm okay. Type of thing. The reality of the matter is that, you know, struggle is the struggle, and that is the name of the game, right? And so, even if you are poor, middle class, or rich, the narrative, the only way for you to survive, the only way for you to grow, is the shortfall. We need to focus there. Is it in a minus or is it in a plus? Is it negative or is it positive, right? So if it's negative or if it's moving to a negative, right, the only way out is you need to increase your income so that you can increase your profit margins, so that you can increase your savings, you can increase your profits as you go on, right? So people, that in a nutshell is our show for today. It was an awesome show. A lot of information came through. If you understood what I was trying to say, it's awesomeness. If you have questions, leave comments below. I will definitely get back to you, and we can have a full discussion on that. I think a lot of people will benefit from it. So yeah, that concludes our show for today. I'm looking forward to our show for on Thursday. Our DJ he's hyped because he has a new selection of songs that he's going to play for us during break time. So we're also looking at that. For the festive, everyone, please be safe out there. Spend money wise because January is very, very far. January, right? That's normally we worry, right? February is also one of those months. I think everything and everyone stabilizes here after March month. But please be careful where you spend your money and how you spend your money. Please be careful as to your online purchases. Please, I would recommend investing in a VPN. So in layman's term, VPN basically it blocks your IP address so that whoever wants to hack, they really can't identify who you are and where you're from. Invest in a VPN. If you use your bank card for online purchases, right? I would say rather those time bank cards or maybe a Capitec card. Get an extra bank card where you can actually transfer money into, then use that card to do your online purchases. All right. So that concludes our section for today. Have a awesome Monday. See everyone on Thursday. Thank you.
Our station, our talent, our people.